All right, guys, welcome back. Season 3 of the Hawk Vision Podcast. I am your host, Chuck Hawkins, here to help you shorten the learning curve on your way to greatness. Over 100 interviews of successful entrepreneurs and thought leaders have graced this show so that we can help you understand the process of chasing and achieving what greatness actually looks like. Make sure you like, share, subscribe across all of your social media platforms, especially here on YouTube. More importantly, share this podcast with other visionaries just like you. Before we get started, take a look in the show notes. You'll see some ways to support the show by buying a cup of coffee. You know how it goes. My subscribers, you'll get some behind the scenes on the back end from me personally. And you'll see, again, some sponsorship and advertising opportunities. I've been getting a lot of questions about that. Take a look in the show notes. We'll take care of that for you. Now, that being said, the guest that I'm bringing to you guys today is someone that I came across on the new, increasingly popular platform Fanbase. That's hard to say 3 times, where she is taking over by storm, leading some of the most important conversations around system and entrepreneurship that I've been blessed to hear and be a part of. She is emerging as a trusted voice across social media and someone that I have the utmost respect for. She literally has thousands of followers that tune in faithfully to hear how they can grow and get better professionally and personally. She's teaching online business owners and business coaches how to build sustainable infrastructures. And what I love most about this woman is her tenacity and her consistency. I'm so excited for you guys to hear from her today. Miss Krista Jennings, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. You know, we've been trying to put this one together for a minute, and I am overly excited. I may not even need the coffee this time, but I am excited to have you on.
That sounds good. Thank you.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and get the easy question out of the way. What got you into entrepreneurship? Was it a single incident, or was it something you were always into?
I think that I think the seed was planted from pretty young. Like I was born and raised in Jamaica, moved to Canada the early 2000s with my family. And when I think back at this, like I think I've had this question asked to me a number of times. And then when I think back to like if I could like pinpoint one defining moment, I remember every summer would leave from Jamaica and go to the States for summer holidays. And my godmother at the time, she worked at like a factory that like sold or they packaged candy. I don't remember, I think it was Smarties or like, I don't remember what candy it was.
Sure.
And she would give me these packages of all this candy. And I'm like, there's no way I'm going to sit down and eat all this candy. So what I did was I brought the candy to school and I was selling it to my friends. And then my neighbor went to a different school from the school that I went to. So I said to him, hey, if you sell, I'm going to give you all this candy. If you can sell it and you can I want you to sell it for this amount of money and I'll give you a cut out of it. And then when I think back, that was the defining moment of like how I became an entrepreneur, how that seed was initially planted. I don't think she gave me the candy with the intention that I was going to sell it. She thought maybe I was going to take it, share it amongst my friends. And that was that. But no, my mom called her and said, oh yeah, Krista sold the candy and she gave it to other people and she had this whole little operation going on. So every summer after that, when I would go to the States for holidays, I would get a package and then
I love it. So you were effectively pushing weight in school and had you had a whole little infrastructure. I love it. I love it. Let me ask you. So I was going to get into this a little bit later once we talked a little bit before the show, but have you noticed that business works differently in the different countries? Because you're 3 countries in, you got, Canada, Jamaica, the United States.
Yeah.
What are the differences and the similarities between the 3?
Okay, so I'll start with the differences. So I find just operating in Canada, it's just a little bit more relaxed. People are not as aggressive, as opposed to our neighbors to the south who are, go-getters, which I absolutely love, and I have much appreciation for that. I think because it's a bigger population, in the States, of course, there's more opportunity. And then there's, of course, like the space that you can really navigate. Like you can be in and out of different spaces and really, develop and nurture that relationship and those connections with people. Yeah. And then in Jamaica, which is a developing country, it's quite tricky.
Okay.
Certain things that you want to get done, it takes longer to get it done, which I guess I'm kind of spoiled by North America. Like if you want something to get done, just go
Right.
online, get it done, and that's it. Like in Jamaica, there tends to be, free processes or different steps, and you can start online, but you can't do the entire process online. And you need to go in and get things verified. So I mean, I think each space and each country has their unique capability and opportunities to untap. So I mean, I think those are the distinct differences, but I think in actuality, like opportunities can be weaved in and through those three countries. So yeah.
Nice. I love it. I
Mhm.
love it.
Mhm.
You, while I was doing the research, to getting prepared for the interview, I saw where you said people spend too much time working in their business instead of on the business.
Yes.
I would love for you to talk my visionaries through that in terms of
Right.
what that means and what the differences are.
Right. So like working in your business is like getting caught up with like the day-to-day operations of your business. Some of the things that like really and truly you should be outsourcing, and people think that they can't outsource it because they're thinking like, oh, I'm just starting out. I don't have a big budget. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. Like you can find someone online on the other side of the world who's willing to like work for like $10 an hour. And if you give them like, okay, you say, I'm going to allot $100 this week to outsourcing things, like some of the simple
Yes.
things that take up a lot of time, you can pass it on to somebody else. And think about it, you open up more time for yourself to work on the things that excite you. Because I mean, as business owners, there's not every single part of our business that we truly enjoy doing. So some of the things that might not necessarily be your zone of genius or some things that you're like passionate about, like outsource those things. And some of the things that even you like doing it, but you have to think about it, like, is it worth your time? So
Yeah.
that's the difference between working in your business, and working on your business allows for you to like grow, see the vision, see, opportunities, like really focus on like income generating activities and income generating opportunities. When you're working on your business, you're able to focus at a higher level and see the bigger picture and like actually get things done.
So the question now comes in, new entrepreneurs feel like they have to do everything, right? So do they try to scale too early? Is that how they get stuck working in the business? Because working on the business, I feel like only works once there's a profitable business, right? Like,
Well, here's the thing though, like I think when you're just starting out, like a lot of times your focus really should be on like solidifying if you're really onto something. Like your job is to like this to be able to identify like, is this the right price point? Am I able to sell this thing? Is this a pressing enough problem? Like you need to be able to figure out like if you're truly a solution that a very specific group of people want, and if
right,
you can grow that. Because I mean, if it's something trendy, like that's why I always like, I always tell people like, don't hop on every single trend, because guess what, it has a shelf life, right? Like it's going to
right,
expire at a certain time. Then once it expires, what happens after that, right? So I always encouraging people to really think about how is it that you can really have like strong roots and really build a business based off of like things that are actually like, are going to be profitable, things that you can sell, things that have longevity, right?
right.
And like think about how it is that you can, but somehow potentially like sell your business, even if that's not your end game. But think about, okay, how am I going to put in place this infrastructure? So if someone wanted to acquire my business, I have everything all like organized, and you have that framework.
I love it. And one of the things
Yeah.
that you said is hopping on every trend. And I love that you said that, because the first thing that comes to mind is a while, maybe about 4, 5, 6 months ago, you saw everybody was trying to be a crypto coach, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wanted to teach you about crypto, coach you about crypto. But 3 months before that, they were in real estate. And 4 months before that, they were selling
Yeah.
courses on content. How does a customer looking for a coach such as yourself or a mentor such as yourself, how do they know when they found the right person to
It's a good
listen to?
question. I guess that's a good question. I think sometimes like it's about the relationship, right? That you have with that person. Like, have you been able to cultivate a relationship with that person? Like, do you trust that person? Like, trust is a big thing when it comes on to like investing time. Like, I think that people think of coaching as like something very transactional, and it's quite not. It's quite the
Mm,
opposite. It's like it's a real meaningful relationship, and it's not a relationship that I take lightly. Like I'm become eventually like friends and really close associates of my clients. Like we don't start up that way because when you're working together, it's strictly business. But
Sure.
like you've been able to really cultivate that relationship. So when it comes down to like finding someone who can help you, like understand that person's skill set, ask for referrals, like, you know, ask for examples of like people who they've worked with. Like you want to ensure that like they say what they can do, they can actually deliver on it. And
Right.
and like if you do decide to move forward, make sure you get everything in writing as well, right? So you know exactly what you're getting, the timeline, so that it's mutually beneficial. So you're not just going into something blindly and then wondering like, okay, so what happens now? Like everything should be all clear and written out for you.
Love it. So I guess the next question is the stages of entrepreneurship, right? Is for yourself, when did Krista Jennings know that she was able to charge for her services and her knowledge and her experience? When were you comfortable in, oh yeah, this has a price tag?
Well, I think it's a continual process. Like I think it's like something, it's a process. I don't think there's like a defining moment, but I think that like once you realize that like it's valuable, like, you know, I remember like when I was just starting out trying to figure out like, okay, what space I'm going to navigate, just having conversations with people. And I would realize like how much value they would get out of it and how much I would feel so good helping them, even though at the time I was trying to really figure out what's going on and like in what way and what capacity I could really help them.
Yes.
So once I realized that and people were actually like taking what I'm saying and applying it and seeing results, I was like, okay, I'm onto something here. So let's put this together. Let's package this together.
Yes.
And create these packages at the time. Just, you know, having like really short packages where I'm working with for like a month, 2 months at a max. So I think that's the thing. Like I think we should monetize our skills. Like you do that in a job, right? So
Absolutely.
why not do it in a business sense, right? So
right, do it for yourself.
Right.
Do you think that people try to scale their businesses too early?
I think people don't realize there's a difference between like building and scaling. Because you could be
Let's go.
you could be building and you could have a team, you could be making, you know, like 8 figures, 7 figures a year, but you haven't scaled yet because you haven't doubled down, right? You haven't doubled down and really identify like what are the key things, you know, the key drivers in your business, really understand what are the things that actually convert at the highest level, like understanding your stats, like analyzing things, like what I always say, it's whatever you track, you can actually improve upon. So if you don't track certain things, you can't improve upon it, right?
Yes.
So be really clear on those things. So like, I think that a lot of times people think they want to scale, but like you haven't even been able to make 6 figures yet doing this. So how is it you're going to scale? Like let's really build in a very meaningful way. And then you can move on to really like thinking about scalability.
I'm about to give you the entire floor, right, with this next question, because once we finally got it locked in, I was so excited because I said to myself, there's one question that I know I have to ask her. And I don't care if Wi-Fi fails for the rest of my life after I ask Krista Jennings this question, right? So there's 3 parts to doing business for most online entrepreneurs. There's the message, the market, and the system. I want to get into the system. Where do you see the gap that business owners and new entrepreneurs have in terms of their systems?
One, either they don't have some kind of system, or 2, they have systems, but they're not working seamlessly together. Or they're even sometimes like investing in systems that, based on where it is that they are right now, that shouldn't be the system that they should be investing in. Like you want to keep things basic, simple, and easy to navigate. And as you grow and you think like, okay, I need further capabilities, then explore those options. But I've seen people who are just starting out, like, you know, investing in like higher end, like client relationship management tools like Infusionsoft, and I'm like, you don't even have 50 people on your email list. Like, it doesn't add up. Like, make it make sense for you, please, right? So those are things that I'm like, keep it simple, and just think about it this way. Like, as you're starting to implement systems in your business, ensure that those things, you're able to manually do those things and it's able to produce you that result. Because a lot of times people go ahead and like streamline and put all this automation in their business and they were like, yeah, I'm systemizing my business. And then it doesn't yield the result that they're looking for, because they haven't been able to manually do these things and yield the result that they're looking for. So be able to manually do a lot of these things, providing the result that you want, then you go ahead and systemize things.
So walk me through that, right? Because you got the three parts. You have the message and the market. So walk me through how that works. So I have my business idea. Let's say Chuck wants to sell gummy bears, right?
Right.
Online gummy bear. Well, not online gummy bears, that wouldn't make sense. But how to make gummy bears online.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So I have my business. How do I secure the messaging? What do I need to be telling my audience so that I can create that want or that need for people to sign up for the email list, right? So that then I can have that system in place. Let's talk about the messaging a little bit and how you are secure.
Yeah, like the messaging is something that's ongoing as well. So it's not just like one event. But one of the things that you need to do and to be really clear on is like thinking about like where it is that they are right now and why would they want to engage in making gummy bears or selling gummy bears online. Like why would they even want that? Like think about like why, like what would be the objective behind it,
besides that they're delicious.
Yeah, like what? Yeah, like what? Like you could say like if you're selling like a course on how to make gummy bears, like think about how it's something that you could possibly do with children. Like you don't think about like how it can appeal to the person who's going to buy this course or who's going to attend this class, right? So it could be, you could talk about it from like an emotional standpoint. So think about like some of those universal desires. So it's something that they could bond with their child. Maybe it's something that couples could do together. Maybe, like it's something that friends could do together, roommates could do together. So think about it from the emotional standpoint. And then think about like how you can utilize that information to educate them. So maybe like some ingredients that could be, better for you. I'm not familiar with that space, but like, think about like what ingredients would be better, or, utilizing this, like you're just educating them about the process and like how, they can be more efficient at it, or how they can, batch it and make, this amount and it will last a long time, or whatever the case is. Just really think about how it is that you could educate your community and be a solution. Like that's the thing. People tend to overthink this, and they don't focus on being a solution. They just talk about like, I say this all the time, that people talk about the features of something more than they talk about the benefits of it. So features tell people what it is that they're going to get, and benefits sell. So features tell, but benefits sell, and people buy based off of the benefits that they're going to get.
I like that, because I tell everybody that will listen, when I get the question is, people do more announcing than they do marketing, right? And I think that they're two different things. Announcing that you have a business is one thing, but marketing, like you said, is when you start to touch on these emotions. Like what happens if you miss out on these gummy bears that the kids are gonna love? You're a first-time parent or a grandparent or whatever. Did you make that mistake in your beginning in terms of announcing versus messaging, or was that something that you had understood through courses or classes?
I think that I understood it, but in actuality, I probably didn't practice it to the extent that I should have. I think that we get so caught up with the excitement of starting something new and how, we're going to be our own boss and all the endless like possibilities that there are.
Yes.
But in actuality, there's like a lot of work that needs to go into play way before that. And messaging, I'm happy that you brought up messaging is a big part of it. Like if your messaging is not strong and it's not solid, you're not going to attract the right kinds of people, right? Like you're not going to be able to build, attract your first 1,000 fans, or, really be able to build your tribe or your community. And I believe that that's going to be the foundation of a profitable business, building that sense of community. Once you have that sense of community, then you're able to have a specific group of people who will gladly buy from you because you've been able to nurture that relationship with them.
Absolutely awesome. Absolutely awesome. And I love that you mentioned, I feel like we all have this knowledge base where we feel like we know something, but it's hard to implement what we feel like we know because we've never done it before.
Right.
When you are coaching someone that's already been a level of, let's say level 2 success, right? Where they have tens of thousands of dollars in income, but they want to get to 6 figures, right? Or 6-figure months or something like that. what do you run into in terms of barriers, right? Like, do they feel like they know everything? Do they say, well, this is
Some do.
worked? She's like, yes.
Well, some think that they know everything. I'm like, well, if you know everything, you don't need me then, right? Like, should I give you back your money? Like,
That part.
I mean, I think a lot of it is mindset and I think mindset is a big part of it. Overcomplicating processes or overcomplicating things. They're like, okay, or like this idea that like, I've always done it this way and it's produced this result. Okay, well, maybe look at it a different way. Like, just because it's always been done that way, why not explore another way? Like, why not look at it from this standpoint, right? So I think mindset through and through, regardless of what stage of entrepreneurship, I think that's one of the biggest things. People are like, well, can I actually do this? It's like, I was having a conversation with a client and, we're talking about like, she's had a great success. And I was like, it's time for you to kind of scale things now. Like, I think we need to start charging at a higher price point. And she's like, well, like, what do you think? Like, and I was like, well, I think like, starting at $10,000 for your coaching. And she was like, do you think I can charge that? Do you think people will pay? I was like, you're doubting yourself more than anything. Right now, you need to have confidence in your ability to be of service to the world. Right. So I think mindset is really and truly like the biggest thing.
I love it. So that leads me perfectly to the next question, because I was getting ready to try to figure out where we would get into the personal growth part. What does Krista Jennings do for personal growth? What is she reading? What is she listening to besides the Hawk Vision podcast? But how did you learn to start to work on the mindset part of work?
It's funny. I started it like before I even leaped into entrepreneurship full time. I remember at the last full-time role that I had, I would take this like crazy commute, and on the way I'd be listening to podcasts. I started to listen to Pat Flynn, the Smart Passive Income. That's when he had just started it. So this is definitely like a while ago. Years ago, right? And then I heard about this other two duo. They're no longer like doing a podcast, but they were the people who like, they were some of the mentors that Pat Flynn had when he was starting his blog.
Gotcha.
So I started to listen to their podcast, and it actually like eventually that was like the first course that I bought online on how to like build an online business. So I mean, so I've always been, so I got like really intrigued by this like online business and having a service-based business and the impact that you can have. And just like, I was like, oh, this is really what I want to do. Right. So that led into me just being diligent in like, I started to read a whole lot more. I started reading like, 3 or 4 books a month. I started to just really open myself up and started to like tap into some of like the entrepreneur like communities here in Toronto at the time.
Yes.
But to date, like now, like I just make sure that like I'm reading as much as possible. So like, staying on top of different marketing trends, understanding the new developments, having a morning and nighttime routine by far is important, because it allows me to start my day on the right foot and end my day on the right foot. And then so I can just keep going through the cycle. Yes. So reading, prayer is a big thing for me. Exercising also it's just therapeutic for me. And I think actual therapy is also really important too. I think at different stages of your life, therapy should definitely be something that everyone invests in.
I am a fan of the workouts, unless there's cardio.
Really? I love
cardio is evil. I look at cardio the same way as I look at Excel spreadsheets. I think they're designed by the devil, right? I don't know why anybody would want to run. Nobody's chasing you. I don't know why anybody would want to do a pivot table. They're like, the information has to be easily accessible. I can't do it. That being said, the best book you've ever read?
That's a really tough one, but I think one of the books that stands out to me was like The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I think that was I think that showed me like the possibility that like building a business will be hard, and it will be, will require work, but that showed me like you can outsource things. Like you don't have to do everything. Like even if you don't want to be a business owner, you have a job, like you can literally work less and have just as much of an impact as well. So I think that book just kind of stood out to me. I'm sure there's countless others, but
of course.
yeah.
So let's talk about outsourcing, because you have these companies like Fiverr and Upwork or WeWork, whatever. Are they worth it? Because it's hard to find that relationship for somebody that's going to put the good, the good product ownership. They have the same heart for the end product that you do. How do you know when you can outsource, what you can outsource if you're starting out, or if you're, a 2 to 3 year entrepreneur?
The first thing is, no one's going to have as much appreciation, passion, love for your business as you do. So first, like let's just put that on the table first and foremost, because that's not going to happen. Just have to think about what is going to be quality. And here's the thing: it might take a few times for you to try out different people, but once you find that person, that's what happened for me. I'll have one person to create graphics, or this person to help with setting up emails, if I'm launching something. So you try different people out and see how it goes, and then depending on the one that you like, just stick to that person. I think it can work. It's think about it. If you were going to hire an assistant, you probably might go through 2 or 3 before you actually find the one that really will gets it and will work for you. So it's a trial, right? So one of the things that if I whenever I'm taking someone on for a longer term, as a trial, I'm okay, I'm going to give you this task, do this task, and get it back to me by this amount of time. And I just, based off what I see, that's how I decide whether or not I'm going to move forward with that.
Nice. So let's say you have someone that is, because I never tell anybody to quit their job while they're launching their business, right?
Yeah,
I want your job to be your first investor. So what type of budget should someone have in terms of systems, outsourcing? Let's say they're using Fiverr, their website. What type of budget would you say somebody needs to set aside for a new business launch?
A new business launch. Okay, so it varies, right? So if I remember when I was starting out, I didn't get a web developer to do my website. I just found a template and a plugin, and just made a few tweaks here and there.
Sure.
So it can be as it can be cost efficient as $1,000 to $5,000, depending on what what business it is. Are you doing a service-based business? Or are you doing a product-based business? If you're doing a product, then things are a bit different there. If you're doing a service, you can be a little bit more lean and bootstrap certain things, but even utilize your network of people as well. You probably know someone who can help you create a website. You probably those are the things that you want to tap into your network. Make sure, and just as a thing, make sure that your business is registered as well. Don't it's a priority, but don't make that be the reason you don't go there and make sales. Because a lot of times you're I'm waiting until I get. I'm no. Go out there and make the money first, because you need to be able to know that this is a real thing, and then go ahead and register your business. Make sure you, at least if you don't have your business registered, at least make sure you have your books all in line as well. And you don't have to invest in tools to do that as well. You can use spreadsheets to do that.
Not spreadsheets.
I
know. Okay, so this is so awesome. Thank you so much. I want to stay on track, because I could talk about this forever, and you are amazing with your wealth of knowledge. Do you mind me asking Krista Jennings' relationship status?
I'm in a committed relationship.
Okay, committed relationship. Somebody's over there lucky. Here's my question. Because I'm definitely asking with a purpose. I don't want nobody that's watching the show to be like, "Oh, I'm about to shoot my shot." I don't want that. She's like, "Don't shoot your shot." But the reason that I ask is, what have you learned in business that you use in your relationships, or relationship, and vice versa? What have you learned in your relationship that you also use in your business?
Patience. Really, I will be the first to admit I am not the most patient person.
Okay.
I'm not. And it's one of the things, I'm a doer. So when I do things, I'm okay, I want to see the results.
Yes.
But we know that that's not how it always pans out. 9 times out of 10, it doesn't pan out that way. So definitely patience. Being a better listener as well too. Because I listen to my clients, And like I listen to people when they reach out to me and they're telling me their problems. I'm like, okay, I'm like, maybe I started to apply that in like my personal relationships or relationships with family. And I find that I'm able to be more present for them as opposed to like wanting to give them a solution all the time. Because I'm just like, okay, well, this is the problem. Okay, this is a solution. So like, let's get it done, right?
Yes.
But sometimes people just really want to talk. You just have to allow them to talk, and then of course try to be of help as much as possible. Yeah. Right. So
I think patience is a huge one because let me tell you, I'm the same way. I literally have to ask, well, not anymore, but I used to have to ask, is this something you want me to solve, or do you want to just kind of get this out? Right. And not that I would listen any differently, but I know that at least I don't have to own the stress of the resolution, you know? Right. So I'm the same way. For me, one of the things that I had to learn was it wasn't necessary. It was communication, right? So kind of hand in hand with patience, it was communication because everybody's urgent isn't the same, right? And everybody isn't able to articulate the vision the same way. So like, whereas my wife will say, what do you think about doing XYZ? And I'll say, yeah, that's a cool trip.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, and so for me, when I say that's a cool trip, it doesn't necessarily mean I want to go. I'm pretty ambivalent about it, right? It's like, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, right.
And she's like, okay, well, I got this flight and I booked this and I did it. And I'm like, I didn't say I wanted to go there. I just said it would probably be cool. And so I had to learn what communication looks like, ask those secondary probing questions. And so in business, it's the same way. Like when you said you had your web developer, I want a website. Well, do you want it to be interactive? Do you want it to do this? Do you want it to do all these things? Because the first site that I launched, when I tell you, it was so basic, you know, because I am low tech, high check. That's my first thing. Right. Yeah. I don't want to spend a lot of time on the tech. I want the money to come in. I want them to get what they need. But she was like explaining to me, she was like, well, if you do this, you can have this loop, this client customer journey where they loop back in. And I was like, oh, so communication was it for me. Question for you. I want to get into the weeds in terms of applications a little bit that you use to make your personal business grow. How do you collect for email lists? What do you do for push marketing? What are some of the applications or systems that you use to create the Krista Jennings empire?
Well, I keep it simple, believe it or not. Like simple does it. I like to keep things simple. So I use ConvertKit for emails. I use this platform called Card, and that's where I create like landing pages, sales pages, things like that. Okay. It's pretty expensive. I think I pay like $20 for the year for Card.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. ConvertKit's
wait, $20 Canadian, Jamaican, which
no
$20?
American.
Okay.
And I use ConvertKit as well. Okay. I use Zapier. If I wanted to link different platforms or different tools together, when I'm doing a push market, like if I'm gonna launch something, I think I have like a whole like launch checklist of like things that I believe in, like actually like prioritizing things and systemizing and having a process for things. Sure. So if I'm going to be launching something, like I have a whole like launch checklist. So I'm like, okay, these are the logistics. These are the emails that need to go out. These need to be created, need to drafted, edited, scheduled. These are the things that need to happen for social media. Like I have like a whole thing, and I use Trello for this as well. And you can use Trello for free, or the paid version, I think starts like $10, something like that. Nice. What else do I use? I use the notes on I'm on the go. I use the notes on my iPhone. Just if I have an idea, I want to just pop it in. And I also have Trello on my phone as well. So if there's something that I need to go in and add, I can go ahead and add it while I'm on the go as well. And the thing I like about Trello, it's like you have a checklist. And there's something satisfying about like marking things off your checklist.
Definitely. It's so funny you said, I am a huge fan. My kids, I tell them, write down the top three things you have to do today, get them out the way. You'll be surprised with how much more of your day you have when you knock out those top three things. Let me ask you this. So I just recently watched a documentary. I am a documentary nerd. It was called Underground with Michael K. Williams. I don't know if you've heard of it. Not important. But they talked about how people are using bots to elevate their online businesses and their platforms. And it got me to think, and they told the story of a gentleman that was using bots to increase his rap career, right, out of
Okay.
Baltimore. And so he found out a way to manipulate the system so that he could chart on Billboard. He could, be a #1 trending topic on Instagram locally, whatever the case is. Created tons of thousands of dollars for himself. And so it got me to thinking, when we're on platforms like Instagram and fan base, when a person is starting a business, is it hard to compete when you have people that know the cheat codes and you're trying to, kind of grow organically? How does that work in terms of managing expectations? What do you think?
I think it's how you want to be positioned, right? I
Okay.
think how you want to be positioned. I think that, like, I personally am not a fan of chatbots.
Yeah.
I think that, I mean, they serve a purpose for, for different types of businesses. If you're running like SaaS, like software as a system, like
Yeah.
I get that. But I think for me, or people who are like in like that transformational space, whether they're a coach, a consultant, an author, a speaker, whatever the case is, I think that, like, you could utilize a bot and try to make it personal, depending on, like, if you have like a launch or something coming up. Like, I think
Sure.
it can be utilized there. But to kind of go back to the point, I think that it's really about how it is that you want to be positioned. Like, if you're starting fresh and new into this space, and you're thinking about, like, how do you want to be perceived? How do you, like, what kind of energy do you want to put out there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's some people who are very profitable and they've never run a Facebook ad, and there's some people who
Right.
made, like, millions of dollars online, and they put, hundreds of thousands of dollars into Facebook ads. So it's just really about, like, how do you want to position yourself, and, like, is it feasible right now? Like, do you have the capability to put a lot of, money and tools and systems behind you? Like, if not, start out where you are, and just
Yeah.
try to, like, validate what it is that you're building,
Yeah.
and continue to validate it as well.
I think one of the reasons that I wanted to get your insight on that is because when I'm helping entrepreneurs, or when people are asking me about my network and who I should point them in the direction of, I really want to help people manage their expectations, right? And while we want everybody to be successful, organic growth is hard, right? It's
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 hard, right?
hard to, and it's not only that it's hard, but your friends and family aren't big enough to get your business to where you want it to be anyway. So
No,
you,
you're yeah, and the people who are going to actually get you to that level that you want to, you don't know them yet. You haven't met
right.
them yet. Because
Yeah.
if your friends and family could do it, they would have done it for themselves already, right?
That part, yes. They would have made themselves millionaires, and it would be an
Right,
inside job.
right, right. So they haven't yet. So you're gonna make money with people who you haven't met yet. So yes, you can focus, you can do that organic growth, but I think that you also need to have a little bit of hustle in you. And I use that word very, like, sparingly.
Yes.
Like, you gotta show up on social media. You gotta, like, let people know who you are. Like, I don't mean, like, go and, like, send people DMs and things like that, but just, like, show up on, be relentless, like, be consistent, like, so that
Yes.
people see you. Because when you're consistent, then people start taking note, and, like, okay, this person does this, and then, like, you want to have consistency in your arsenal.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I loved about your profile, especially on social media, is you run these social media audio spaces. I mean, hands down, like some of the best conversations that I've heard. How has that been able to help your business, in terms of growth and new clients and all that?
It's been good, because I remember, like, the first month of being on the platform, I think I added additional $5,000 in revenue that month. So, like, from a monetary standpoint, like,
Yeah.
that was good. I think so. For me too, it's also about being able to, like, be in a space where there's people that are, like, I've never met them in other spaces. It's
Yeah.
completely a new community that I've been able to, like, to nurture. And I love community building. I like being able to be of service to other people. Yes, of course, I want to be profitable, and I want to make, but for me, it's really about relationship. And I think relationships, like, we make money from other people. We don't make money from, like, a machine, right? So, like,
Yeah.
building and nurturing that relationship, for me, I'm really big on that. So it's been really great. Like, hey, we're here, right? So, like,
Yes.
and I've been able to really connect and collaborate with some amazing people. So I absolutely love the fan base.
So how did you hear about it? And so I love fan base as well. It's I tell everybody it's a growing space, right? So
Right.
it's the perfect time to kind of curate who you
You're
want to be associated with, all that good
right.
stuff. How did you hear about it?
Funny enough, someone I think I saw something posted on Instagram and saying that like, oh, as like Black people, it was like a rant about Black people not connecting with each other and not supporting each other. But anyhow, the person was saying like, there's Black social media like fan base that Isaac Hayes was able to build, and I was like, I never heard of this. So I went and did some search, and I was like, okay. And he said you can monetize. I was like, okay, let me download this to see like what it's really about. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. Like, this is an amazing space. And like, just being on the platform, like for I think like for 24 hours, I made like $5 or something,
Yep.
just like from the revenue
Yes,
thing.
yes.
And it's like, I was telling a friend, I was like, it's not even about the money, but it just shows you like that level of like you can build a community pretty much anywhere you go.
Yeah.
And if you're in the right space at the right time, because timing is also a really crucial part of it as well.
Absolutely. I think I am of, well, this sounds weird. I'm a fan of fan base.
Yeah.
And I think that if we pay attention to it, there's a huge opportunity. Like I've seen Isaac Hayes start to post what some of these celebrities are leaving on the table.
Right.
And the fact that he's doing that on Instagram is hilarious to me, because not only is he leveraging Instagram and the popularity, he's basically saying, hey, y'all doing this for free over here.
Yeah. Why not do this? Yeah.
Do it
why
over
don't you
here
do
and
here?
I mean, just the possibilities are endless. I was thinking of when Jay-Z released that album on, I can't remember the name of the cell phone character. What's the one, not Sprint, not AT&T, T-Mobile. He released an album on T-Mobile years ago. And it was just, if you had T-Mobile, you automatically got the album. So like he went platinum in like, the minute it was released.
Right.
And so it made me think about fan base. It's the exact same thing. If you have a platform where people, want to follow you and want to subscribe to you, instant, like it's so huge. So I love how you have taken control of that and curated your space. Getting close to wrapping up, we got to do our round where I ask you a couple of words and you have to tell me the first thing or first sentence that comes to mind. Let me know when you're ready, if you want to stretch.
Yeah, we have a sip of water. Ready.
You're ready. All right. First word that comes to mind. When Krista Jennings hears the word momentum, what does she think?
Myself.
Love it. I love it. Second word is passion.
Passion. My father. Like, he's just like a very passionate person, and like everything that he's done, like he's always done it with excellence. And I don't know, you can always see the passion in everything that he's doing. So that's something I've always admired. So yeah, wow. My dad.
Wealth.
The future.
Okay, I like it. What now? When you say future, does that mean that it's far off, hard to attain?
No, it's coming. It's definitely coming, right? And it's I think there's a level of wealth that's I'm starting to build in my generation, like and then for generations to come, they'll be able to, of course, like reap some of the benefits of that. But I think that I'm building something that generations to come will find very, very lucrative. So
love it. When Krista Jennings hears the word vision, what does that mean to her?
Vision. I think of Jamaica.
Let's go.
Yeah, I think of Jamaica because that's where I'm from. Mm-hmm. And I think that I always think that there's some way that I'm going to, like, I hate using this word, give back, but I'm going to pay it forward. I'm going to do something substantial. Over the years I've done, different initiatives, but I think that like I have this vision to do something bigger. So there's some things that I'm working on. I can't speak on it yet, but I know that's a part of the bigger vision as well. So yeah.
You know who my guy over in Jamaica, he lives in the UK now, but Paul Bronson that's my big brother. Like every time we talk, he is, I don't care where he is, if he hears the word Jamaica, he just loses it. And he's like, Chuck, you got to do it. Like, it's so funny. I mean, he's all the way in London now. And anytime he hears It's like,
Interview.
oh, Chuck, I need a red stripe. I need to do that. Like he loses all the professionalism. It's so funny. So I love that passion that is over there, just emanates from him. The last word that I have is perfection. What does that word mean for you?
I'm a recovering perfectionist, believe it or not.
Okay, do tell.
So I know that like perfection doesn't exist, but I know that like being myself and owning it, because I think sometimes people think of being like, oh, I'm so real, but like it's kind of hard to be yourself sometimes if you're in a space where there's different people, there's competition, like you're navigating something new. I think being yourself and like owning it as well, like being unapologetically yourself. I think that is perfection, because at the end of the day, like there's no one else like you. So just own it as imperfect as you can. Just be yourself.
Nice, nice. There's 5,000 people in a room, and you are the keynote speaker. What do you want the guest list or the crowd? What do you want them to leave with?
Ooh, that's a good one. I want them to like. I'm one for like. I like people being empowered and all that stuff, but I want people to be action taker. I want them to be so fueled that they start to take action then and there. Like if whatever I'm talking to them about business or, personal development, whatever, I want you to take action. Like I love when people take action based on whatever I share, or just whatever it is, just take action. Like I just want people to take action, even in the smallest way. Like, even if it means like, I had a consultation with a client a few weeks ago. And one of the things that she was saying, well, this is the year 2022 was the year that she wanted to quit her job. I'm like, okay, write down the date that you're going to submit your resignation. Like it might not like be that date, but when you have a date in mind, like there's something about it that fuels you to take action.
Absolutely. Wait, so that leads me to one last question.
Yeah.
Do you think that people in your experience are more motivated by fear of failure or fear of success?
I think I think there's a bit of both, but I think more so people are afraid to fail, and that's why they get crippled and they don't take action, or they don't show up all the way that they should, myself included, raising my hand. There's times I'm like, oh, like I don't know if this is gonna work, or I'm not gonna quite get the traction that I'm looking for. I'm not gonna hit the sales target. But here's the thing, you're not gonna know until you try.
Right.
And you have to go all out. Like you can't do something sparingly, you have to do it wholeheartedly. Like it's either you want it or you don't want it. And if you don't want it, step back and let the people who want it be able to get it, right? So
absolutely. Yeah, my father used to tell me all the time. He said, every time you're scared to try, you fail. Right. So he's like, if you don't want to fail, just do it. Like
right.
You've automatically done more than sitting on the couch, right? So
right, for sure.
Couldn't agree more. Let the world know what is next for Krista Jennings and where they can find you online.
Such a question. All right, so you can find me at kristajennings.com. You can find me Krista Jennings on all social media platforms. For the first 2 quarters of this year, 2022, I'll be hosting either monthly or every other month trainings around different parts of like building your brand. So whether that's like positioning, pricing, things like that. So if you're an entrepreneur and you're thinking about like really growing in a very intentional way, then you definitely want to sign up for one of these trainings. And you can find more information at kristajennings.com.
Absolutely awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been rocking with the great one, Miss Krista Jennings, and yours truly, Chuck Hawkins, here at the Hawk Vision Podcast. We've been talking about business, systems to improve your business, personal growth, and so much more. I hope this interview was informative. I hope we added a smile to your day, but more importantly, we hope that we helped you shorten the learning curve on your journey to success. Buy your boy a coffee. I am officially out. The link is in the show notes. Like, share, subscribe across all your platforms. Send in your messages and your guest suggestions. I cannot continue to grow this show without you, my visionaries, and I am so appreciative that you gave us your time today. You know how it goes. There is absolutely no miracle that will ever happen without someone doing something. We will see you either at the top or from the top. The choice is yours. Krista, thank you so much for joining the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.